can we ensure a better education and a brighter future for our children? My next guest is the CEO of Brightbeam, Stewart, wants to do that. He'll lay out exactly what his organization is doing. Chris, glad to have you here. And so you say you want to make it for a brighter future. What does that mean? What does it look like?
I mean, in normal times, it means just making sure that our kids have access to great teaching, great schools, a wide variety of opportunities to be able to choose from when it comes to education in schools. But that's in normal times. We're not in normal times right now. So right now it means making sure that our educators are free to teach our kids the real history of the country that they live in, that our educators aren't being muzzled in the classrooms by bad legislation in multiple states that is attempting to stop teachers from being able to teach our kids their real history, teach them to understand the structures that they live within, and teach them how to be critical thinkers about their government. So to make sure that their government is not treating them unfairly. So like I said, in normal times, we would be talking about teaching and learning and great schools and whether or not our kids have all the access to the resources that they need. But these are not normal times.
So how are you going to do that? So how is your organization going to do that?
I mean, one of the things that our organization does is we shine a light in places where we think is not there's not enough attention for. So when it comes to kids in cities, for instance, 2 years ago, we looked at cities from across the country, maybe about 50 cities, and we wanted to see where kids were doing the best. One of the things that came out of that report that was a little bit of a shock for many of us or people working on it is that in many of our most progressive cities that have booming economies, have great kind of services in all kinds of ways, you know, great parks, great museums, and just great lifestyles, actually had some of the worst outcomes with kids of color. And we decided 2 years ago that, number one, that was a problem that could be addressed if we started putting municipal leaders, local leaders, on the hook for the outcomes of children in their communities. So basically right now, instead of taking a national look, we're taking a place-based grassroots look at how our mayors and city council members and school board members being held accountable by their communities for the outcomes of kids in their communities. And that's our number one strategy right now is you elect people to serve you. And too many cities you can go to and they're wiping their hands of the outcomes for their children, for the children in those communities. We actually are determined to make sure that those communities, the constituents, are holding their feet to the fire, putting pressure on them, and making demands for what's best for their kids.
But so I mean, people are asking in the chat, what is Brightbeam? What do you do? That's what they're asking.
So Brightbeam is a nonprofit, an educational nonprofit. What we do mostly is we work with parents, students, and educators to create content with a purpose of like moving decisions, getting decision makers to respond to communities. So we talk to moms, we talk to students and people who are impacted by educational issues.
What states?
So we are national. We do city-based work. For instance, we do work in Oakland and Washington, D.C., Chicago, the Twin Cities, some cities that were strategically picked because we felt like there was great promise for things that could happen for those kids. But I mean, we work in Kentucky, we work in Atlanta, we work in Georgia, New York. So we're national in a lot of different places, strategically picked for places where we think that change can happen and where the problem is pronounced. But right now, my focus, really, to be very honest with you, my focus right now is on this national movement, but mostly by Republicans, to pass laws in right now up to 12 or more states that really rolls back what educators can teach kids in classrooms. We are witnessing a white supremacist attempt to change the name of the game in classrooms, what history could be taught, what students can learn about their government, and it is working. White power is working right now in legislators, and I think this is a red alert situation. This is not like normal times for me.
Where have you seen success? Where have you been able to move the needle?
You know, I can't claim that we have had victories anywhere in the United States where we're going to say mission done, mission accomplished. We have had small wins and small gains by holding mayors accountable in cities, for instance, like Minneapolis, where we are getting more kids into stable housing because we think that stable housing is important. And the city had a small program. We're actually actively right now working with the city to make that program bigger. We've actually went on a very large national push to make sure that more families have access to broadband. During the pandemic, we discovered that there were so many families that couldn't even attend school because they didn't have adequate broadband. So we actually had a national campaign, some local campaigns in some municipalities where we were able to get changes, rule changes, and definitely get word out to more parents where they could get access to broadband. There's no place where I could say the mission is accomplished and we can go home and say that City A or City B has been doing amazing. But there are definitely schools across the country. For instance, Ile Omide in Oakland is a school I could point you to where, you have Black folks who start a school and are making real gains with real kids every day in a city that isn't making real gains with its kids. We have programs in cities like Oakland that are working with African American youth, making sure that they're getting the culturally responsive education that they need. There are good things happening. I can name a lot of places where that's taking place, but no place where I can rest easy at night that Black children are getting a great education in the United States.
Okay, where can people get more information?
You can see me at Brightbeam. You can find us at brightbeamnetwork.org. Folks can find me on Twitter at Citizen Stewart. And if you want to go to our main flagship platform that we have, it's educationpost.org.
All right, then. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much, Chris Stewart. Good luck.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.